Look, Danny, I don't know what I did wrong. And I know you're gonna say that's the problem.
That is the problem. You didn't listen to me, but you listened to Zach.
I want you to keep that.
Well, it'll hold up because it's plastic.
I love you, Danny.
Still on it.
All right, Sistas fans, so you saw a snippet of the scene where Preston approaches Danni at the airport, basically stating, hey, I got a ticket, I'm going home for good, and declares his love for her one more time before making it plain that, look, I'm going home, I made up my mind, I wanted to be the best kind of man that could love you, be the kind of man you needed, but you refuse to tell me what's wrong, and Danni, her demeanor the entire scene was just the whole keeping up a strong facade and still being semi-condescending. And just the thing about Danni that confuses me is the fact that, like Preston said, when I do something wrong, you don't tell me what's wrong or what I did wrong, and then you get mad because you think I should know what I did wrong, even though I didn't know I did anything wrong, which also leads into the whole thing of, I want to be the right kind of man to love you, and why don't you teach me? But then Danni somehow makes this about all black women, not just her as a person, about how you need to know about the black this and the black that and yada, yada, yada. You're a grown man. When are you going to learn and take responsibility? Her stance makes no sense. And thankfully, Preston sticks to his guns, no pun intended, because cowboy guns, yoo-hoo. But then it's the fact that he's like, look, don't say anything, because if you do, it will make me stay, and I know you don't want that. It kind of felt like he was kind of putting words in Danny's mouth, because if you look at the way she was acting, it's kind of like, oh wow, okay. So then he leaves, and then she's like, still running, and I'm like, really, Danni? Still running? Even if Preston stayed, what would you have done differently? I mean, you're still there. Well, I tried to tell you, but you didn't listen. And it's like, no, you didn't. I did. But instead of listening to me, you went to get advice and listened to Zach. And it's just stupid how you're using that against him. Preston caught your ass with two men at your apartment at different times, yet that's never been brought up. You're always quick to bring up, oh, well, you come over here unannounced and you did this and you did that. You cheated on the man. You weren't dating him. You were having fun or whatever, but it's the fact she has the audacity to feel like she's the more mature one in their quote-unquote relationship is just, I can't believe this chick, And then the fact that it's like still running, but Danni, even if he had stayed, what would you have said or done differently? Nothing, because you refuse to admit your shortcomings. Just like any of these other women. When they get called out in their bullshit, they want to get defensive, they want to get mad, all men ain't shit, yada, 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 I'm offended. It's dumb. And I'm glad Preston left. Let's go ahead and play the audio for the from the full clip, and I'll come right back.
Danny. So you're still not happy to see me?
It's not that, Preston. It's not that.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. What are you doing here? You bought a ticket to come back here?
I bought a ticket home.
Okay. Have a safe flight?
Danny, I'm going home for good.
We're good.
Yeah, look, there's nothing left in Atlanta for me anymore.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Honestly, you were the only reason I stayed as long as I did. I'm a country boy,
I can tell by the hat.
Look, I would have called, but I didn't know if you would take my call.
I've always taken your call.
Or I thought that you would have missed it and called me back hours later, and by then I would have been gone.
Well, okay.
Look, Danny, I don't know what I did wrong. And I know you're gonna say that's the problem.
That is the problem. You didn't listen to me, but you listened to Zach, so.
Look, I just wish you would have told me what I did wrong. So,
I didn't tell you?
never mind, Danny. I don't want to relive all of that. But I'll tell you that I'm willing to change any and everything just to be with you. I only want to be the man you need and just to love you, Danny. Here.
Thank you.
I want you to keep that.
Well, it'll hold up because it's plastic.
It's kind of the point. That way, it'll never die. My love for you.
Wow, Preston.
Danny, please don't say anything, because I've made up my mind to leave. And if you say anything, it's just gonna make me want to stay. And I know that's not what you want.
Okay.
So, look, I'm gonna leave now, okay? I love you, Danny.
Still on it.
I mean, as you can see, Danny's still on her same BS. You know, Preston tries to have a mature, civil conversation like, hey, and what, you buy a ticket so you can come up here and see me? Nope, I bought a ticket to go home. Oh, well, have a safe trip. And basically, Preston tries to say, look, I came up here because I didn't want to call you. I was afraid I wouldn't take your call. You wouldn't take my call. I always take your call. Well, maybe not all the time, but sometimes you would hours later and I'll be gone by then. So even when Preston is trying to, again, have an upfront conversation, explain himself, Danny's always interrupting with a smart remark like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. You know, well, I've always taken your calls and whatnot. And then from there, again, Preston just calmly explains, I tried to be the best man I could for you. You're the reason I stayed in Atlanta this long. I don't know what I did wrong. You won't tell me. And yet again, Danny's whole demeanor is the same old, well, hey, you did wrong and you should know better and this and that. So the fact that when he left, she decided to, you know, have that stupid look on her face like she's about to cry, but at the same time be like, still running. Again, making it seem like Preston is running away from the quote-unquote problem or situation instead of staying. But again, Danny, I ask you, even if Preston stayed there, what would you do differently? Nothing. I mean, I feel like if Preston would have stayed, maybe he would have came over at some point and inexplicably interrupted the dinner date that you're supposed to have with El Fuego over at the apartment. Then what? And then from there, it's the fact that you're using the still running thing to make it, again, seem like, oh, Preston, he's the one that always runs away when we're trying to have a conversation. But Danny, you don't have conversations with Preston. It's always cows this, farm that, condescending comment here. You should know better. And basically, it's almost like you want this man to kiss the ground you walk on. And he is damn near at the point where he would. He loves you. He was willing to change anything about himself. But he just doesn't understand what he does wrong because the communication between these two is trash. It's ridiculous. So until Danny admits to her own wrongdoings, it would never work. Not only that, I could see a situation where Danny either calls or just bust through the door at Zach's place to kind of rant to him about, oh, it's your fault that Preston left and this and that. Again, placing the blame on everybody but herself. So is Preston still running? No, I think Preston came to his senses and decided to not stay in a place he wasn't wanted with someone who doesn't want him. And then Danny's going to be in her feelings next season over a situation she completely butchered due to her own, wrongdoings. When would she admit to playing around in the street instead of coming back inside when the street lights came on? It's just one of those things where Preston deserves better, way better than Danni, which is a shame because, as I said countless times before, it's the fact that, hey, look, these two were the it couple prior to Zatima, and yet now look at them. So we'll see how things play out. Will Preston get a phone call from Danni? I don't know. I feel like Preston's going to be gone until Danni interacts with him. I don't know. But she's, again, waiting for him to crawl back to her as opposed to her making the first move. But like I said, only time will tell. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Is Preston still running, or do you think he's walking away from a situation where he knows he deserves better? That's how it is. Like when the men in this show, whether it be Zach with Karen or Gary with Andy, when they decide to do better for themselves, Gary through therapy, Zach through moving on, and Preston from moving forward or dating other women, that's when the core sisters get in their feelings because they don't want to admit they effed up, or they walked away from something, or they ruined a good thing, and they place all the blame on the men. So like and subscribe, follow me on social media, and I'll catch you in the next one.